You have this great idea, you have decided to turn it into a business. It could be a physical product, could be a service, it could be a web-based platform. And now you've been in operation for months, probably years, but you're not getting the right kind of traction that you believe that your product offering or your service should be giving you. In most cases, now you're looking at yourself and you're thinking probably there are a lot of things that you're doing wrong. One of these things you're thinking maybe you're lazy. The truth of the matter is that the reason why you are not seeing the kind of growth that you must be having right now is because no one really gave you the blueprint to scale your business. What you need basically is strategy. So, and then this is where we come in at Phiri Consulting, where we're introducing you to this growth roadmap masterclass. Now, in this masterclass, you're going to learn exactly how we help small to medium-sized entrepreneurs like you build scalable, profitable, as well as fundable businesses. I'm going to take you through the 5 steps that I've put through in this video, which is a combination of 5 videos in this series, taking you from the current state analysis all the way through to adaptation and evaluation. Go through the entire video, download the templates that are on offer. Everything is free, and make sure that you apply this, start applying this right now, and you begin to see the growth that you'll be looking for. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, and also to share this video with others. Enjoy. Oftentimes, dealing with entrepreneurs that come for a business coaching, we always find that people only come when there is a problem. This problem usually could be a problem with the product, a problem with the service or the app that they've developed. The product is a market fit. They've gone through the different stages of product development, the research that was necessary to create that product. And from their assessment, they came up with a product that is market fit and they've put it to market. However, when the product is in the market, always the assessment is that the product is not doing as expected. Maybe there is not enough sales, it's not generating enough users if it is an app or a web-based platform, or generally things are just gloomy as far as that particular product is concerned. Now, this is the time when they come to seek for advice and seek for ways to maneuver through that particular problem so that maybe they can turn the course around. So often the question then would be, what is it that they find to be problematic about the problem? So we initially take them through what is called the current state assessment. Now, in the current state assessment, it is I've always baffled by this. Most people do not know exactly what their current state in the market is. What I mean by that is that they do not have sufficient data that they can present to you to say that this is the data that we have gathered and this is how the users are using this product, that they're using this app or this service. And so far, this is where we are, and this is how much has happened from the time the product has been in the market to date. So because this is a problem, then we'll always go back to the issue of generating sufficient feedback that they can use then as data to answer that question. The question still stands. Where are you currently as far as user experience is concerned when we talk about your product? In this video, then we're going to talk about how to analyze your current product features, performance, as well as user experience. If you're new to this platform, please make sure to like our videos, subscribe, and hit the notification button so that you are appraised every time we bring you the weekly business tips and other growth tips that we have for you. What we are interested in is to see you build that business that you can scale and that you can take to a profit position and that you can even get funding for if you do not have funding for your business. Okay, let's jump in. Now, in dealing with the current assessment issue, I say that most entrepreneurs do not know exactly what their current state is. So, therefore, it means that they have not yet analyzed what the features of the product are doing or how they are performing as far as the customers are concerned. Remember, when you build something, it could be a product, it could be a service, it could be an AI agent, it could be an app. What you're building, the reason you are building it is that you got someone uh, in mind who's got a specific problem, and that particular person will be paying you to solve a particular problem that they have. So, in developing the product, you need to make sure at all times that it suits what they want, it satisfies the problems that they have, it solves whatever current circumstances that they are going through. Often, like I said, there is a very big breach between the product development stage and the performance of the product in the market. Some entrepreneurs fail to make sure that there is a seamless a sort of projector from product creation and development to performance and success and profitability in the marketplace. So and then the question still stands, what do you do to generate the right kind of information or feedback that will sort of tell you or inform you about the product in the market? Then this is when you need to create a system where you generate sufficient feedback from the marketplace. Now, when I say generate sufficient feedback, what I mean is you need to be actively soliciting for feedback from your users or from your prospective customers. Okay, let's take for instance that you have an online store. People are going to the store and then they're dropping off before the checkout point. Now, it means that there's a serious problem somewhere. Then the question is, have you found out what the problem was? Did you maybe ask them what the situation was? Why is it that they dropped off? Or maybe why is it that they are buying certain products and not buying others? Or why are users not using your platform? Or the ones that were using it, how come they've dropped off? And you are faced with a circumstance where you are having lesser and lesser users on your platform. You still need to actively get feedback, solicit for feedback via emails or via any systems that you create in your business. Now, this is what I'll advise. Now, when you look for feedback, this must be an instant a step that you take after someone has made a purchase or after you've made contact with a particular customer or a particular user. There must be an immediate follow-up to get the right kind of feedback that you're looking for. Remember that their experience about the product, about the service, about the app or whatever tool that you have exposed them to is still fresh in their minds. Now, so if it's still fresh, it means that whatever feedback they'll give you is feedback that is earnest and that you can use then as data to modify whatever you are doing or simply to maybe improve on the product that you have offered them. Okay, so what you need to do then is to create a survey. Create a simple survey. A survey must be made up of a questionnaire with simple questions. Now, this is what I advise most of these entrepreneurs that come through. Make sure that your survey has got a mixture of open-ended and closed-ended questions. Now, by open-ended questions, I mean that now you solicit their feedback in their own words. They give their own perspective. But if you give closed-ended questions, it means that there are specific replies that you're looking for. All right? Already you give them options to answer. It could be a box to tick yes or no. It could be if you are gathering information in terms of statistics, a gender, male or female, tick the right box. All right? And so forth and so forth. So now this gives you a more balanced and a more actionable quality sort of survey that you can use. That is not daunting for your user. It must be simple. It must be easy to use. Okay. Now, my focus is usually on three most important questions. For you, it could be any number of questions, but don't make the questions maybe more than 5. It must be simple. It must not be something that will discourage your users from taking that particular survey or from answering the questionnaire. So the first question that you would use is, on a scale of 1 to 5, how satisfied were you from using this product, service, or app? All right. Now, already you are giving them options there on a scale of 1 to 5. Now, the reason for such a question is to make sure that you get instant data as far as customer satisfaction is concerned. That is the main purpose. You want to know instantly whether they're satisfied or not. Okay, so if it's on a scale of 1 to 5, some kind of responses that you will put would be, maybe 1 will be very dissatisfied, 2 dissatisfied, 3 neutral, 4 satisfied, and then 5 very satisfied. Now you see, they're just ticking a particular box. And again, you can always create these surveys using a Google Forms and send to them via Google Forms, so that from Google Forms you can now use tools such as Excel, and then you can have a better way that is simpler to analyze that particular information. Now, if you're doing this survey for someone else, then this will help you to even report that particular data simpler and easier. Okay? So that's the first question that you have. Closed questionnaire. Now, the second question will be an open-ended question. And then this you would ask and say, what features or aspect about the product or service did you find more valuable or useful? Okay. Now, the purpose of this is to get exactly from the user's perspective what it is that is working for you. As I say earlier, remember that you're creating the product or service for them. Now, if you find out from them exactly what it is that is working, then it means that you can constantly improve on your service offering or on your product offering. Now, this gives you exactly that kind of feedback to say, okay, from all the features in this particular product, we must make sure that we either leave this as is or we improve on it because it is currently doing well. Now, if there isn't anything doing well, sometimes it might mean that you need to go back to your research, go back to the product development stage, or maybe do some innovations, do some changes here and there, and then bring back the product to market. Otherwise, you must find out exactly what their perspective is concerning the product. Now, the third question, I always say this is the most important question, because in the third question, then you're going to ask them, what is the one thing that you would improve or change concerning the product, concerning the service? Okay. Now, the purpose of this is to make sure that you identify current pain points. There is a particular pain point that your product is not currently solving. There is a problem that they are facing right now, and the product has not presented the solution that they need to make sure that it takes them out of that particular pain. So, therefore, gathering information on this makes puts you in that position where you can now go and make the right kind of changes or include certain aspects on your service or on your product to make sure that you hit those ticks in each and every aspect as far as the product is concerned. Now, remember that this questionnaire that you're sending or this survey is going to a lot of customers. Now, that particular third question will have a lot of variations. Now, it's up to you to look at your budget, look at your constraints, and look at what works for you as far as one, it could help you segment the market and make sure that you are tailoring the product for a specific a target group and so forth. Now, this will make your product more targeted. And if it is more targeted, it means that it presents a better solution to a very specific problem. Now, if that is the case, then you will not run out of paying customers that come through your doors to make sure that they give you the right kind of business that you're looking for. Okay, so it is important then to take note that in the first stage, you always need to find out exactly what your current status is as far as market performance of your product, its features, and what the user experience is. You have made the product for them. They need to be satisfied by it. It must be solving their problems. Okay, I hope you really enjoyed this. Please be on the lookout for the second or the follow up to this particular episode, where we are giving you insight based on the training that we have with other entrepreneurs. Now, this could be a shortcut for you. If you don't want to come aboard our training, you could just go through these videos and find out exactly what others are going through as far as the challenges that they are having and the solutions that we're presenting for them. But I must say this to you that uh, obviously that if you need a solution that is tailor-made for you, then you need to hit us up with a WhatsApp or the contact details that are down below. Otherwise, leave a comment, tell us exactly what your current status in the market. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you have not yet subscribed, and also hit that notification button so that you get appraised every time we bring fresh and exciting content. For most entrepreneurs, and I'm sure that this is true also for you, that starting a business means building relationships with other stakeholders and other third parties. So it means that probably when you started, you looked for the most appropriate supplier with the right kind of products in terms of quality, in terms of price, and you sort of cemented a relationship so that you've got this constant flow of resources that you need when you need to produce your particular product. After the product has been produced, then you need to have other parties also. Maybe you came into agreement with wholesalers that from production, these will take the product and then distribute it. Okay. Now, in that distribution chain, the wholesalers were also linked to other retailers, making a sort of seamless value chain from the resources to the production facility or unit to the wholesalers, to the retailers, and to the end user. Now, the retailer is closer to the end user and is one of the most important partners or relationships that each and every a creator of a product must have. However, this is not always the case. Others sell directly. But in this case, we're looking at evaluating existing business relationships as well as partnerships. This is the second step in the series that we were doing. Remember that at first we said that for most people that come for coaching, they are coming because there is a current pain point or existing problem that they are facing. Now, in order to take them through the process, the first thing that we always want to find out is the current state assessment. In the current state assessment, we say that before we can talk any business or before we can lay any growth initiatives or create a growth roadmap, the first thing that must happen there would be to make sure that we analyze the features of the product and user experience. Once this step has been done, then it is most important to go to the second step, which is what we're talking about today in this video, which is evaluate existing business relationships and partnerships. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Kenneth Phiri. I help entrepreneurs like you to build scalable, profitable, and also fundable businesses. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe and also hit the notification button so that you get appraised every time we bring you fresh and exciting tips to build that scalable and profitable business that you want to build. And we also bring tips to help you through your entrepreneur journey from inception and to scaling it into something profitable and successful. All right. Now, the first question that you want to ask is, why does it matter? Why should you evaluate current business relationships as well as partnerships? Now, take for instance, if you're building something. If you're building something, one of the most important things to consider is the foundation. You certainly cannot build a very strong growth map or have a growth plan that does not sit on a firm foundation. And let's borrow the example of construction, for instance. The taller the building, then the deeper the foundation of that particular building. And also the stronger the columns, the stronger the pillars that they put in, so that that particular uh, upward projectile has the right kind of support to build a very tall building. Now, the same applies in business. If you're ever going to grow your business, you need to have a strong base from which you are building that particular business. So it is very significant that entrepreneurs that come through understand exactly what sort of relationships do they have and how these relationships either are a strength to the business or are providing the right kind of support to push that growth forward. Then this takes us to three reasons why you should evaluate that particular relationship or why you should evaluate partnerships at all. Now, let's look at these three reasons quickly. The first reason is to check alignment with vision and goals. Okay, it might be that from the time of the inception to where you are currently, there has been a move away from what you purposed to be in terms of that particular relations. Now, relations in business are built because there is a singularity of purpose, there is oneness, there is consensus into values, into certain things that the business must focus on in order to push it forward. Okay. So the question that you are asking here is, are current partners or relations aligned to, or are they still aligned to the mission of the particular business? It could so happen that divergences happened. Okay, things change, customer tastes change, objectives may change. For instance, other opportunities could have arisen or challenges that your partners or other businesses that you are related to are faced with. Now, if they're faced with such a circumstances, changes might have occurred that have made them move off at a tangent. If they're doing so, it means that there is some form of misalignment to what you thought you wanted to do and achieve with them to where they are currently going. Their current projectile is far from where you started. So and then this must be evaluated and you find out exactly where they are currently. What you're basically asking here is that, is where they are right now supporting your growth, or is it hindering it, or is it limiting it, or are they part of the hindrance that you're facing as far as that particular growth is concerned? The second reason is assessing value contribution. You need to find out exactly who is contributing to the value and also who is either obstructing the value or who is limiting it. Now, oftentimes businesses or entrepreneurs fail to understand this step because probably the people and other partners that you've brought into business to partner with them are relations, maybe family relations or blood relations. It could be people that you came up with, you grew up with them, went to school with, or you were at college with. Now you have built this sort of intimate relations with them. However, that relationship, no matter how intimate it might be, sometimes it might not be favoring your growth for that particular business. So you find that they are now part of the friction, or they are also part of the wastage of resources that your growth is faced with. Remember, even in physics, they say that for every projectile motion forward, there is always an opposing force. So are they part of the friction that you are facing as you try to push your business forward or as you try to scale your business? Are they part of that particular problem that is sort of bringing you backward? If that is the case, then certain conversations need to be taken place. But you need to find out exactly who is adding value and who is currently hindering that particular value. The third reason is to identify risks and dependencies. Now, in this, what we mean is obviously, when you made those particular relationships, there were some suppliers that maybe you are overly too dependent on. Now, if you're so much dependent on and something was to go wrong with them, will it affect your growth as a business? Or is a particular partner or business relation that you have, a particular connection that you have, uh, bringing so much risk, or do they bear a lot of risk that can be a negative consequence for the business? This must be known exactly before you can map the roadmap for your growth. Okay, so this is what we usually do. And then we take you through these three questions or three stacks. Now, in these three stacks, you need to be very, very honest, and you also need to make sure that you understand all the components that add up to the business. Now, the first thing to consider there is to map up all your current connections, all your current relationships, and all your current partnerships. In this step, you don't leave anything out. You need to map up exactly who are secondary partners, who is bringing what, who is contributing what. You need to take it from there and look at others, maybe tertiary or quaternary partners that are still connected, maybe to your supplier, connected to your wholesaler or to your retailer, to form that more elaborate map of everything that is a tributary to your business. Now, if the river flows and if it's flowing forward, it does so because there are a lot of smaller tributaries that contribute to bring its volume higher and higher as it moves forward. So, are these tributaries still contributing? And how much of contribution are they bringing in? You need to make sure that you list everything out and map it out as simply as possible. Now, think of it as what you do is you draw a family tree. You know this one is connected to this and this and this one. Map it out exactly as you do in a family tree so that you can see exactly which connections are critical, which takes you to the second part, which is to identify the most critical connections, critical partners. It could be suppliers or any collaborators. Which ones are most critical to the business? Then when you've done that, you need to evaluate each one of them using these three criteria. The first one is adds value. You look at each particular contributor or partner. Do they add value? Second level is, are they neutral? And then the third one is, don't add value or destructive, or whichever a unit of measurement you will use there. Now, once you know who is adding value or who is not adding value, then this is the time now to have very important discussions. It could be a time to pivot the business. It could be a time to renegotiate and look at specific contracts that you have. But this step is very important. Now, let's look at an example. For instance, when I grew up, my father used to grow tomatoes. We had a big garden at the backyard, and he used to love growing tomatoes. Now, when the tomatoes are at a particular stage, you let them grow and they'll be so leafy, green, and looking, that green that is so beautiful with a lot of branches and leaves. Now, if you're looking at them, you're seeing a very beautiful plant and you're expecting something great from it. Now, the next step will be very critical. What you would do then, you would take this pair of scissors and then start pruning the tomatoes. If you prunes them, you will make them so lean so that you will have just the main track and a few branches and leaves. Now, this step was always done just before they started to bud and produce flowers. Now, for someone who's looking at that process, will be thinking, these tomatoes were so beautiful and all of that. Now they have been reduced to these sort of just slim plants. On the outlook, just looking at them, it just looks like a big waste. But when they finally bloom and produce the tomato fruits, the tomatoes that will come from there will be very huge, juicy tomatoes. Now, the same is also likened to a business. If there are any particular relations or connections or collaborations that are not going to be critical to your growth, that are not going to contribute to your growth, then they must be pruned. It is difficult, as I said earlier, because a lot of people have brought in relatives, you have brought in people that you know, and they hold a sentimental value to you, and therefore certain relationships are sort of more dear to you than you don't even want to consider pruning them. But if the business is to grow and move forward, now this is an essential step. It has to happen, it must happen, and the earlier you do it, the quicker you can get onto that growth projectile and move the business to the next step. So it is critical then to know this fact that strong businesses are built on very strong intentional relationships. If there's no intention in that particular relationship, then the relationship is a waste. Then this is a time to either do something about it, change their position, if it is a department or if it is a team, change the way they perform, or better, get rid of them before you waste a lot of time and a lot of resources. Now, I hope you really liked this second segment in our coaching. Also, make sure that you comment to us if you have got any relations in your particular business that you are finding difficult to weigh in terms of whether they are contributing or they are just a part of the friction of your growth forward. But if you're also having problems speaking to them, please tell us exactly what you think could be done. If you have tried it, you have failed it, what you did, and why it didn't work. Or for those people that have sort of pruned their businesses, what worked for you and where are you right now in your growth plans? The truth is that you can't grow your business by accident. What you need is direction, clarity, and a plan. Now, in this video, we are going to focus on the second stage of the business coaching process. In the second stage, we're going to talk about defining your growth objectives. Now, having completed the first stage, which was the current state analysis or the current state assessment, now it's time to get strategic. So I'll take you through defining short-term and long-term objectives or goals of your particular business, and deciding or determining which key performance indicators will work to push your agenda forward. Now, it is very significant to note that KPIs are one of the most important tools that you need to have, especially if you are to scale your business. The most important thing to take note of there is that if you can't measure it, it means that you can't manage it. Oftentimes, a lot of entrepreneurs think that growth will come by accident. So because of that, they lack that clarity and direction that they need to have from the onset to ensure that they have parameters that they have which they can track and measure to see whether they are still on target to arrive at their particular destination. Now, one of the most important things that we know about planning, if you're an entrepreneur or you are someone who has been reading about business, you've been watching content on business, you've been tiptoeing just a bit into the entrepreneurial game, or you are on the sidelines still undecided, one of the most important things that you will not and that you will hear is that planning is one of those most significant things that a business sits on. It is the foundation of what is going to happen in a business, and it will propel a business forward. It will give you the roadmap. It will give you the tools to use to get to that particular destination. That is why you have also probably heard of the saying that says, not planning is planning to fail. So a lot of entrepreneurs, that does not apply this strategic practice in their business to always have planning on a continuous basis always will fail. The reason is planning is a process, and because it's a process, it must be continual. It's not an event that you sit down at the beginning of the year or in a particular calendar period and then just deal with it and then it's over. No, it is a process that you go back, iterate, evaluate, change this, change that, to make sure that at all times you are firing on all cylinders, charging towards that particular goal that you have for your business and as an entrepreneur. Okay, so now, usually a lot of people start on the wrong side of planning, which is to start with short-term goals going to the long-term ones. Remember that planning always starts with a vision. I'll link a video down below that we did a while ago where you can see exactly what a vision is and what encompasses a compelling vision. So you need to have a vision which is very broad and general in nature. And then from then we can derive long-term vision goals or long-term strategic goals. Now, the reason why you're starting with the long term is so that if you know the destination, which is where you want the business to be, uh, within a given time period, it could be 3, it could be 5 years, whatever the time a span might be for your long-term planning, then you can do some reverse engineering and go back to the beginning and find out exactly what needs to be done on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly, on a monthly, and so forth for you to attain that long-term objective. So often we find that a lot of entrepreneurs are starting with the short term, and then while in that planning, they realize that the short term goals do not align with their long term vision. So always start with a broad vision. From the vision, then you can determine or define your long term goals. Before I go into this, I also want to put my own personal opinion as far as time frame is concerned. Remember that in that particular planning process, your goals must be SMART, right? A SMART being the acronym that stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time frame. That time frame, I believe that in the current economic environment, in the current times where we are now, the time spans have changed. We used to know that short term would cover all the things that are happening within 1 year calendar period. But now look at it. With all these innovations that are coming through, with all these developments, new tech advances, you see that time is sort of shrinking. Things that you would have taken a year to complete, you can do them in days, you can do them in months, in weeks, and so forth. So rather, for short term, what I advise entrepreneurs to do is don't make the short term to be a year. Bring it down to within 3 to 6 months, because currently 3 to 6 months is quite a long period of time in terms of advances. You've seen a new large language models in AI coming through, new AI agents and so forth. All of these changing the dynamics as far as time is concerned in the market. So rather shrink that short term to be at least maximum 6 months. And then from them on, year going upward, we can now call that a long term, because it's now taking shorter to take a product, for instance, through the product development stage, make it a market fit and put it to the market. So that, I think, is very significant to note and to start implementing now if we are to come up with goals and objectives that really address what we want to achieve in the particular market. Okay, so now going back to long-term goals. Now, the long-term goals, I prefer to call them long-term vision goals, because they are tied to your reason of being. They are tied to why you as a business have ventured into this particular, on this particular journey, and what it is that you want to achieve. So, for instance, let me give you an example. An example would be a enter 2 regional markets or enter 2 new regional markets, a Western Cape province and Limpopo. All right. Now you'll notice there that that is a smart long-term goal. The reason why I'm saying smart is specific. You know what you need to do. What you're doing is you're venturing into a new market and you've specified which market you're venturing into. Now it is measurable because already you got the number 2, which means you can count them 1, 2 regions that you are going to grow your business into. All right. And then depending on your resources, now from where it stands, that will be also attainable, is realistic. Obviously, if it's attainable, it's realistic. And then there is a time frame that you put. Then you can say, enter 2 new regional markets, Western Cape and Limpopo province, within the next 24 months. Okay? So, which means there is a time span. You can now go back when you're doing your evaluation, and time is going to be significant. When you reach that milestone in time, have you achieved that goal or not? So it means that there is also a dimension of measurability there that you can still apply to that particular goal. Another long-term goal could be a reach 1 million revenue within the next 18 months. Okay. So there it is specific, it is revenue, and it is measurable, 1 million revenue, and then it is attainable depending on your resources, obviously, meaning that it will also be realistic. If that is the case, then it means that there is also a time that you can attach to that. In our case here is 18 months. Now, having determined or defined your long-term goals, what you need to do then is you need to reverse engineer, go to the beginning, and then look at things that needs to be done now in the short term, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. What is it that you need to do now in order to achieve that particular goal? Obviously, this is going to depend on your resources. It's going to depend on your skills. Do you need to upskill? Do you need to expand your resource base? And so forth and so forth. Now, some examples of short-term goals that will align with your long-term goals would be maybe onboard 5 new partners each and every month in both provinces. Okay. Now, already you're specifying what, and then you're also specifying the number, which means it's quantifiable. If it is quantifiable, it's measurable. If you can measure it, then it means that you can also manage it. There is also a time frame given there, which is a month, and therefore it means that you are tracking what is happening on a month-to-month basis. And if you're doing this on a month-to-month basis, then these partners will give you that kind of leverage that you need as a business in that particular region to make sure that you get the customers that you need, or you acquire as much business as you need in order to take over the province and also reach that 1 million rand in revenue within that 18 months. Okay, so all the short-term goals that you are developing or defining here are aligned to the main one that you just brought about in the long term. So without alignment, obviously there's disalignment, and with disalignment, you find an organization and its departments within it pulling in different directions, which means there's no singularity of purpose, there's no consensus, there's no meeting of the minds. The organization does not pull as one force in one direction, which means also that there's a lot of friction. Where there's friction, now the forward momentum and the forward progression is always affected. Therefore, it will take longer to achieve your specific goals, or you might not even hit the mark. Now, having then dealt with the long and short term objectives, of course, there are so many examples that you can deal with there. Then you go to identifying KPIs. Now, the KPIs that you're going to identify must be KPIs that you know how to measure. And these must be KPIs that will measure exactly that which you want to achieve. Oftentimes, entrepreneurs just throw KPIs that are not specific for the task at hand. Now, these KPIs, if used properly and you track them, monitor them as time passes, you will notice that they are going to help you in day to day decision making in order to iterate and also ensure that you become more and more adaptable to what the market is putting forward. Remember that you charging into the market does not mean that the market does not respond back. The market will give you feedback, obviously, and some of this feedback is captured in those KPIs. Are you hitting your targets? If not, what is the problem? Okay. Now, examples of KPIs could be a customer retention rate or how much order values are you getting per particular day or per week and so forth. Is it sufficient to get you to that 1 million revenue within 18 months? Now, if you do your calculations, you always find that they either, if there are gaps, you'll know exactly how much you need to increase with to reach that target, or it might necessarily mean that you need to adjust your plans. Now, a lot of people find this difficult to do, where if you're tracking certain KPIs, you see that that probably might not be a realistic goal that you had put in the first place. Then what you can do is then begin to evaluate, control, make changes where changes need to be made so that at the end of the day, you hit that target. However, having said that also, do not be quick again to quickly change the long-term goal, because in other ways, we want to avoid a situation where at the first sight of a little bit challenge and difficulty, you go and change your goals. No, you look first at what needs to be done. Is it being done? Try it. Go back and check the KPIs again. Are you hitting those marks? If not, then after that, you can decide to change. But don't be quick to make that change. Look first at other alternatives that you need to put in place to achieve it. As a matter of fact, already when you set that 1 million target, the assumption is that you felt that you had the capacity, the capabilities, the skills, and the resources to reach the target. So sometimes it's very good to hold on to your position and charge forward. Again, I think it's also important to take note of this fact that you need to use a goal tracker. You can use even a KPI dashboard. You use tools such as Google Sheets, Notion, and any other third-party tools that are out there. You need to have a very organized way in your particular system to monitor, to check the progress in your KPIs. Please do comment with one of your business goals this quarter. Let us share and teach each other exactly. Tell us what is working for you when you do your long-term and short-term goal setting, and what are you using in terms of resources for your KPIs and so forth. You have defined your goals. You know exactly where you want your business to go. But here is the truth. Without a technical plan, goals are merely good intentions. In this video, I'm giving you the exact framework that you can use to turn your vision into action. This is the exact framework that we use in our coaching to help entrepreneurs like you to build their businesses smarter and faster. Hello, my name is Kenneth Phiri, and I help entrepreneurs like you build scalable, fundable, and profitable businesses. Welcome back to the Growth Roadmap series, where we are taking you through some of the coaching activities and the sessions that we do with the entrepreneurs that have come on board to help them grow their businesses faster, especially now in this tech-based work environment or business environment. Now, in the last video, we spoke about defining growth objectives. Now that you're done with this part, it's time to turn your strategy into execution. Now, this is the part now where you are moving your vision into something that is actionable, something that you are going to do to make sure that you achieve the set objectives that you already set in the previous stage. So basically, what you're saying is that you're moving from strategy to execution, and you're doing so with the tactical action plan. This is where vision meets implementation. Okay, perhaps you might be asking yourself this question: why is tactical planning significant? Now, one of the most important reasons for you to have a tactical plan is that without it, teams are usually confused. Now, you find that if you're working in a team, there is always the possibility of duplication of tasks. There's always the possibility of one person not knowing exactly what the other is doing. So, with that comes wastage of resources, and wastage means that forward momentum that you had stalls. Okay, so as a result, you don't achieve what you meant to achieve in the set given time. Number two, without action steps, progress stalls. Now, action steps are deliberate, intentional steps that need to be taken, for instance, in a project or in pursuing a particular goal, which actually maps up the route to achievement of that particular goal. So it tells you exactly what activities need to be done, when they need to be done, and so forth and so forth. Now, having such a framework ensures that you've got a momentum, and each and every time you reach that particular milestone, then you are focused already on the next one. So they are lined up in sequence in terms of priority or in terms of how one fits into the next one. The third one is that a technical planning brings clarity, it brings coordination, and it also brings a whole lot of other benefits such as accountability. Okay, now, if you have set your goals, now in the tactical plans, now clarity comes in terms of what activities must be done. There's no confusion where you find team members running back to the leader and trying to find out exactly what needs to be done in a particular a set of events or circumstances. Everyone knows exactly what needs to be done. And again, because of activities that coordinate or contribute into each other, and then the team members or whoever is working on that particular project is able to prioritize a certain aspects or certain activities to ensure that all of them either are running concurrently or are running parallel, or they are running one after the other to ensure that that particular objective is achieved. Now, take for instance a river. Now, when a river flows from its source all the way to its mouth, what happens is that you've got tributaries down its particular main flow. These tributaries will add into the volume of the river. Okay, so as it moves, each tributary contributes something. With that contribution, the volume of the river increases, and as it goes through, it also is able to carry a lot of sediments, a lot of things, because now the power increases, the volume increases, and so therefore that river ends up reaching its particular destination. In this case, could be a mouth where it pours into the ocean or into the sea. So a business is like that. And if you're doing technical planning, you're saying that these activities uh, each pour into another, or each lead into the next step of the activity. In so doing, the organization becomes this massive river that flows to its particular destination. Yes, tactical planning, therefore, becomes this business, a war chest that you have, and it's got tools within it. It's got a particular uh, resources, got people, and so forth, all coming together to do certain tasks in particular time frames to ensure that the set objectives in that particular time frame are also achieved. Now let's look at the actual structure. I want us to break down the structure so that by the time we actually do some tactical plans together, we know exactly what to follow. Now, this is the framework that we usually put. The first and foremost, what you need to find in that particular tactical plan is strategic pillars. All right. Now, what I mean by strategic pillars is this: you must know exactly what you are implementing in or what you are working on. You must be specific that this is the strategic pillar and we're going to be implementing in this particular pillar. All right. It could be maybe marketing. Okay. You are looking at activities that need to be done in your marketing strategy or in your marketing plan, or whatever it could be. The strategic pillar then becomes marketing and promotion, or the strategic pillar could be product development, a service or platform development, whatever the case might be. Now, this must be clearly spelled out and set out for everyone to understand. Now, moving on to the next item that you need to see there in that particular tactical plan would be specific initiatives. Now, under specific initiatives, what you are basically doing here is to break big, audacious goals into smaller projects or activities or tasks that must be done to ensure that you are moving along to reach that particular goal or to achieve whatever you have set in your strategic pillar. Okay, so you could have an example like maybe redesign a landing page. Okay, but you will see that this is not only done in a vacuum. There could have been another activity before that, which was maybe generate feedback on a user experience on the particular landing page or platform or whatever the case might be. So all these activities are smaller, each contributing to the achievement of the larger picture as far as organizational goals are concerned. So you are moving along, but you are doing so in small bite sizes so that you're not overwhelmed, so that you can gain that particular momentum that you need to gain, be confident as you achieve one after the other. And then this will make the work simpler, and you're working smarter to achieve your particular goal. And then you move on then to have a third component in your tactical planning. In this case, you need to spell out timelines, or what you would want to call time frames. We have already said in our strategic planning that when you develop growth objectives, you must develop goals using the SMART principles: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, as well as that T, which is for timelines or time frame. Now, in the time frame, you want to make sure that you specify when these tasks or projects are going to be completed. For instance, maybe improve user experience within 6 months, or develop a new platform within the next 3 weeks. So much so that when it comes to that deadline, you know exactly whether you achieved the objective or not. Now, leaving an execution without a time span, you could achieve it. Actually, it could take you 2 years to do that. But is this what will give you the growth and the momentum that you need? Certainly not. You find a lot of entrepreneurs here setting a goal without the time frame. Now, it makes them comfortable in the sense that eventually something that could have taken maybe 2 weeks, they did it in a year. All right, they did it, but if they had a timeline to do it, it would have meant that they would have done that, moved on to the next activity, because in the current tech age, is the people that have got speed that are going to reap the benefits in entrepreneurship. Now, without the prerequisite speed, you are achieving what you said to achieve, but other people are way ahead of you. Remember, this game is a competitive game. You are not operating in a vacuum. You are not the only entrepreneur in the market. You've got a lot of other competitors who are moving at lightning speed. Therefore, your speed must either match them or you must be faster than them. So this means that you have got timelines where certain activities need to be done. And when you're done with those, you move on to the next thing. Then the fourth one will be resources. Now, under resources, you are saying that for each and every task, project, activity that needs to be done, you need to apportion specific resources. Now, this could be inclusive of things such as a budget, people, tools, and so forth and so forth. These are all the resources that need to be taken into consideration or put into application for you to achieve the particular goal. So you could have, for instance, 100,000 plus 2 developers plus maybe you Canva design app for a specific project where you are designing graphics for a particular customer. Okay, so there you have already spelled out uh, the money that is required, the people will be doing it, and the tools that you're going to use to do that. Now, in this case, it means that if you know who is supposed to be responsible for that activity, it also suggests that accountability is easy to track. You know exactly who are supposed to do what, when they were supposed to do it. And failure to do so, we can actually see where the weaker links are in that particular organization and maybe be able to make corrective action so that that growth initiative is achieved. And then the fifth one is milestones. Now under milestones, what you are basically saying is that you need always to come back after a certain period to come and see what has been done or to celebrate what has been done. Basically, what you're saying here is that you have set check-ins to come and review progress. Now, reviewing progress is significant, especially in your planning if you are going to do evaluation and control. Now, a lot of businesses do not review their progress. Now, failure to do so, it might seem as if you are really achieving your goal when you're not. If you review your progress, you are checking the ideal situation versus the real one. This is what you set out to do, and this is what you achieve. Then you are trying to reconcile the two when you are reviewing progress. And in doing so, you can either find out if you are ahead or behind, or you are actually where you're supposed to be. Now, finding that makes you a better planner, it makes you a better executor, it makes you better in controlling. Now, in the controlling aspect, this can only happen after evaluation. Once you have evaluated, then you can find out if there were any deviations to the ideal path. If not, then reinforce the current one, we move forward. If there are any deviations, then corrective action must be taken, and then you set on your growth path to the next step in your growth objectives. Now, let's just talk a little bit about how to prioritize your initiative. Now, what you need to do now in this part when you're prioritizing your initiatives, first and foremost, is to start with quick wins. Now, this is important to gain momentum. Now, a lot of people look at bigger things first and thinking that if they do those, then, this might give them that particular feeling that things are going well. However, in most cases, they will fail. Why? Because the bigger task will take longer and this could be exhausting. And then you find people dropping projects along the way. So start with smaller wins, smaller gains to give you momentum. They build on your confidence that exactly you're doing this. And taking activities in smaller bites and smaller pieces ensures that you are able to consolidate the small things to achieve the big one. Next one, you need to balance long-term foundational work with short-term growth moves. All right. So that at least some of these are running parallel to each other, because obviously the short-term growth moves are contributing to your long-term foundational work. So you need to make sure that there is a balance between the two. The third one is that you need to use the impact versus effort matrix to help you make smarter decisions. Now, the impact versus effort matrix, we're going to deal with it later. I'm going to probably follow up this video with a short video just to explain to you exactly what the impact versus effort matrix is all about. Please be on the lookout for that video. But basically, in brief, this is what we're saying. Especially now in the age of AI and AI agents, what a lot of entrepreneurs are doing is they're looking for greater impact, but with as minimum effort as possible. So you are evaluating and checking, okay, this particular effort that I'm making, what is the impact that it will have on the overall organization or on the achievement of this goal? Okay. So then this will help you choose the right kind of activities that need to be done in that particular time span. So if you're going for a low effort, minimum effort, and high impact, then these are most of the activities that a lot of entrepreneurs are being advised to do now. As long as there is that activity that you can put aside or that you can delegate to AI or to so forth to do, or build systems where most of this work is being done automatically by maybe an agent, do that, as long as it increases the impact on the organization. But most of these things will take you learning certain skills, and it is important that you continuously build, especially now in this tech and AI age. If you are not using AI by now, and maybe you're one of those people that are afraid that AI is taking over or it will take over and this and that, so because of that you are refraining from using it, I'll advise that you change your mindset now when there's still time. It's true that a lot of people that are first adopters of AI and are quickly including it in their SOPs and so forth in their organizations are already seeing exponential growth and large results, conversions, and so forth. So I suggest that you try it out and find out for yourself whether this is a good fit. Try whichever LLMs are there and whatever bots you can find to make sure that you make your work lesser and lesser, but having more and more impact on your business and on your market. I think from this we can conclude and say that a tactical planning, it takes abstract goals and turn them into real results. Okay, so again, you need to remember that here we're not only creating or defining goals and then just sitting there and working so hard to achieve them. You need to build a machine, a system, SOPs and so forth that you can implement to make sure that you achieve your particular goals. Otherwise, be on the lookout for the next video where we are going to be talking about tools that you use in your tactical action planning tools, such as ClickUp and so forth and so forth. There are quite an array of tools, word breakdown structure, Gantt chart, and so forth. I'm going to break down some of these tools so that you can choose exactly which combination of tools you will use or which ones will best suit the organization and the projects that you are embarking on. So make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss out when this video launches on this particular platform. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share with your friends that are entrepreneurs and others that have got intention of becoming entrepreneurs in the future. Also, leave a comment down below. Tell us exactly how your technical planning is going. If you haven't doing so, tell us the reasons why you think maybe what you've been doing has been working, or if you want to adopt a certain items that we spoke about, leave a comment, and then we'll reach out to you and see how best to help you. So you have done the planning, you have mapped out the tactics. What happens then if reality does not match strategy? Here is the truth. No plan actually survives first contact with the real world. That is why this final step in the Growth Roadmap series, which is adaptation and evaluation, is the difference between scaling and sinking. Let me show you how. Hello, I'm Kenneth from Phiri Consulting, where we help entrepreneurs like you build scalable, profitable, and fundable businesses. If you're new here, please consider subscription to the channel and also hit that notification button so that you are praised every time we bring you fresh and exciting growth tips to take you from where you are and scale your business. Most entrepreneurs fail not because they did not plan or there's something wrong with their planning. One of the main reasons why they're failing is they fail to adapt. Now, a lot of things happen, especially now in this economic age where we find a lot of things changing in quite a short period of time, all right? You've got technological changes. Tech is changing. Each and every day you wake up to something new. You can even see on YouTube and all these other platforms announcements of something new coming in as some other productivity, a tool or this and that. So tech is changing. As tech changes, therefore it means that the way you're doing business also must change. You've got customers evolving, right? Things that customers preferred a while back, even as back as only a month ago. Right now, they no longer need that. Okay, so you need to be adapting to all those specific changes. You've got markets also shifting. All right, most markets are shifting towards going digital. Now, if you are not on that bandwagon yet, then it means that you need to really evaluate where you are and begin to adapt. So all these massive changes that we're seeing in this very short period of time suggest that you as a business to prosper in such a fast-paced changing world means that you also need to make sure that you adapt, make a pivot, and then focus on what's working now. If your business doesn't evaluate and pivot to what is working right now, it means that you're leaving a lot of growth on the table. Now, evaluation will tell you exactly what to keep, especially if you're looking at your plans, your tactical plans, and so forth. It will tell you what worked. If things are working, then you keep those and then double down on them. And it also shows you what's not working, the things that are not working, the things that are draining resources, that are draining away your time. Those are the things that you are removing from your SOPs and stuff like that. And then adaptation then is now going to show you exactly how to work smarter to have that growth that you need. Start by asking what worked and what flopped, and the reasons why it worked and the reasons why some things flopped. Now, always go back to the KPIs, the key performance indicators that you already mentioned or that you've already laid out in your tactical planning. Now, if you go back to your tactical planning, if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll link the video down below to see exactly how to create your tactical plans and how to follow through. And one of the things that we highlighted in the tactical plan, one of the pillars of a tactical plan was to have KPIs. Now, you can go back to those KPIs in your implementation after you've implemented, evaluate. So when you're evaluating, you're looking at achievement or whether targets have been reached in each of those KPIs. Now, in doing so, you're evaluating to try and find out what really worked and what flopped. And then from then, this allows you then to pivot towards what's working and focus your energies, focus your resources on those things that are working so that you can scale a little bit faster. Another item that you need to focus on is customer feedback. Now, in one of the first videos there, when we were talking about the current state analysis, we said that you need to solicit customer feedback at all times. So your customers informing you about their preferences, about their satisfaction of your platform or of your product or service. Now it's giving you feedback exactly into what's working. And also remember, if you have not yet created a survey to get that customer feedback, I suggest that you do so as soon as possible, because that feedback is going to help you, especially if you make a customer feedback loop where you are constantly generating and collecting feedback from the customers. This helps you have data that you can use to pivot. All right. So when you're pivoting, you are focusing on what the customer says was working, what the customer even gave back to you as current pain points that are probably not being addressed. All of these you can collect using a survey. And this is information, this is data that you really need if you are going to adapt to the current changes that your business might be facing. The other thing to use there are monthly performance audits. Now, it depends from one organization to the other. Time frames can differ. Others are going for weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, and so forth, depending on the resources that you have and on the size of the business. Sometimes it could be the size of the projects that you are undertaking. However, monthly performance audits are very significant. Now, in most cases, these audits, in terms of performance, are going to also be linked to your KPIs. Therefore, what you're saying is, how are we performing in terms of already agreed on criteria? It could be revenue, it could be sales quantities, it could be whatever the case might be. You need to find out if you are still on track as far as performance is concerned. If not, then something needs to be done. Remember, evaluation, you're controlling so that you can pivot, so that you can adapt to current changes, so that you now move into that growth, a projectile that you want to be. Remember, it so happens sometimes that you might have these ups and downs, right? But if we were to draw a trend line as far as your growth is concerned, growth versus time, let's say you're plotting a graph with a time on the x-axis and growth on the y-axis, all right? If we're plotting overall over time, are we seeing that growth? All right, there might be dips here and there in your particular performance, but there must be a continuous upward a growth as far as your business is concerned. Then all these other things that you're doing, you need to make them a habit, not an event. If it becomes a habit to collect feedback and to evaluate and then adapt, and then it becomes a habit to do all those other things that you need to do as far as evaluation is concerned. Look at your KPIs, evaluate, are you reaching those targets? Do your audits and so forth. This will give you the right kind of data that you need so that you can be able to make quality decisions, smarter decisions to take your organization into the next level as far as scaling and growth is concerned. Now, here is the key. Don't just adapt blindly. For you to pivot, you need to make sure that you are basing all your efforts and all your activities on current data that you are collecting from your particular audience or from your particular market. Now, there are so many ways in which you can do that, okay? For instance, change marketing channels. If the data that you are getting tells you that your conversions are low, all right? How would you know that your conversions are low? Is because probably you had that as a KPI. You had a certain figure as far as your conversion rate is concerned. Now, when you collected, you found that probably your conversions are low. Therefore, sometimes what it will mean is that you need to change your marketing channels. All right. Another example would be a change pricing. If maybe your competitors are undercutting you, all right, it means sometimes that you need to lower your prices, maybe to match them or to be lower than them. But of course, you need to take into consideration costs to you as a business for doing that. Is this going to eat into your profits and you find yourself in the loss zones there? Now, if that is the case, then you need to find out a different way of going towards your pricing. Now, in other cases, it can work the other way, where instead of lowering prices, then you increase prices. If you are confident that you are offering a premium product, a premium service, sometimes a high price communicates that particular thing. You're saying to your customers, I'm confident in what I'm offering, and therefore, instead of decreasing prices, I'm going to increase prices. Now, you can then communicate how valuable your offer is, and if it is valuable, therefore, you also need to be confident and stand on that particular pricing, which means, therefore, that you are driving the market, you're not being driven by the competition in the market. Another thing that you could do is refine your offer. Now, if feedback tells you that the product, the service, the platform, the app, whatever you're offering does not resonate with the market, then it means that you need to change the offer. By changing the offer, it means that you can repackage it. Sometimes it might mean going back to research and to development and tailor make it to what the customers are saying in the feedback that you are collecting from them. So feedback, and more feedback is always significant to ensure that you move from where you are and jump onto that growth path and see yourself scaling that specific business that you are running right now. I think it's significant to mention here that we need to remember that adaptation isn't failure. Okay, from someone looking from outside, they might see it as failure, but the most important thing to note is that adaptation is evolution. This is one of the biggest stories in human history. Humans have always found a way to adapt. So evolution is part of the DNA of who you are, and is also must be transferred into your business and become the DNA of the business. The business has to evolve based on current market environmental factors and so forth and so forth. Therefore, need to adapt, must adapt, begin adaptation now. Although adaptation and evaluation is the last step in the growth roadmap series, in actual, it is the beginning for you in terms of taking that business and taking it into the next level. You won't go to the next level unless you adapt. Now, adaptation will allow you to streamline your business, to tailor the offers that you are presenting to the market, and be able to scale in such a difficult market circumstance. As for next steps, feel free to download your free growth tracker. I'll leave it down below. Also, evaluate monthly, position yourself properly to make sure that you take advantage of what is happening, adapt, be confident as you pursue the next step in your growth roadmap. Remember, you need a valuable current data which you're collecting from the market to make sure that you progress. And as you do so, here is wishing that you will be able to get to that particular scale for your specific business. Don't forget, download that free tool right now. You'll find it down below. And also, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe so that you do not miss all these wonderful tips that we are bringing to you. We want you to grow your business. We want you to scale and hit that profit objective that you have. Your growth is our concern, and therefore, please do subscribe, like the video, and also share with other entrepreneurs that need this. This is Growing Business with Phiri Consulting. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.